Hey guys, it's time for another Spotlight On. I've got Scottie Thompson here, and we're talking 12 Monkeys, so much more. Stick around.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, welcome. It's another Spotlight On right here on AFTERBUZZ TV. If you have not already, go to youtube.com/AFTERBUZZ TV. Hit subscribe. We're also on iTunes and SoundCloud. I'm your host, Yael Tygiel. I'm joined by the lovely Scottie Thompson.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm a big fan of yours. I was telling you earlier, I was a big NCIS fan. You were one of my favorite parts of that show.
Thank you.
So I want to start there because I'm so excited. So Dr. Jean Benoit.
Dr.
Dr. Jean Benoit was so beloved by the fans.
I know. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it like to jump into a show that was a family already? And just be like, no, I'm going to be part of this family.
Well, the craziest thing was I came back this year 8 years later.
Yeah.
Not to date anybody or anything. And it was like everyone was like, oh my God, Scottie, it's so good to see you. Like I just never left, right?
Yeah.
And so the whole crew, the whole cast, of course, everyone is such a beautiful family. I mean, they've been together now 13 years.
Yeah.
Long time. And from the start, I mean, this is one of my favorite stories, but when I booked the job originally, I had totaled my car because it's LA and you drive a lot.
Yep.
And I had just moved to LA and I totaled my car in the first 6 months of moving here and gone to lunch with Michael Weatherly and Don Bellisario, who created the show, and was telling them that I had totaled my car. And Michael was like, well, you know, I have this Jeep Wrangler in my garage. I don't drive. It's not the greatest mileage, but you know, if you're looking for a vehicle to drive while you figure out your next step, you're welcome to have this. And
He just gave you a car.
He just loaned me his car I think I kept it for about a month while I figured out my next situation.
Wow.
And I literally just told him I totaled the car, and he was generous enough
Here, have
to
another one.
say, here you go. So to me, that's pretty much family.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, and it was so amazing to come back this year after all these years and everyone was like, it's been what, like 4 years? And I was like, whoa, I wish it had been 4 years, but no, it's been a little longer than that. So yeah, it's been fun to sort of grow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, totally nuts.
When you started that storyline, because Sean was such a mystery character, we didn't really know who she was or why she was I remember seeing it being like, who is this and what does she have to do with anything?
What is her deal?
Right, and then she was like a huge big deal. I'm not gonna spoil it, even though it was like 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
So if you haven't seen it yet, you're ridiculous.
Yeah, come on, tune in.
But when did you know what was happening with Jean?
Oh, I knew. I pretty much knew from the start what the deal was.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the audition, I knew, her father was French and connected to all this, not so great stuff. And I actually spoke French in the audition. And,
do you speak French?
I do a little bit, yeah. So anyway, I kind of knew from the start where it was going.
Yeah.
And it was fun this year to come back and see where she's gone over time and where everybody else has gone.
Yeah.
Hey, I guess we've all grown up a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Nobody really grows up on that show. They grow up
that's true.
Tiny bit.
DeNozo especially.
Yeah. He's made baby steps over 13 years.
Yeah. It's necessary.
All right. So between, those shows and where you are right now, which is 12 Monkeys, which we will talk about, so much to talk about with 12 Monkeys.
Yes.
You've done a lot of amazing stuff. You've been everywhere on TV. I've seen you on everything, on Grey's Anatomy, on Trauma, on Graceland. What has been the most fun for you?
Well, I've actually just come from sitting down with a director I worked with on an independent called The Lookalike that is actually streaming on Netflix right now, and that was one of the more interesting experiences I've had. I played a deaf woman with no left leg.
Oh.
And it was filmed in New Orleans and sort of underground, seedy New Orleans world. And that was definitely pretty awesome
Yeah.
experience for me. You know, the thing, I mean, just all of them have been interesting in their own ways. Being a part of Grey's Anatomy,
Right.
when Patrick Dempsey was leaving the show, I didn't know what was going to happen with that character.
Yeah.
And I got some serious haters off of that. I mean, serious haters.
Well,
But
that's understandable.
Of
It's a little
course,
understandable.
I was like, I don't want to step on toes here. But to be a part of such a huge show, I mean, that show is so much a part of my generation too.
Yeah.
So to be able to work on a Shonda Rhimes show, she's creating such amazing things all over the board and
Yeah.
still is, and to be able to step into that world was super fun. Nicest group of people. And I just, I remember when I was in the middle of filming that, I was testing for the HBO Project Greenlight film that I
Yeah.
got to be a part of, and that was a whole other experience to be part of
Right.
a show that was offering a glimpse into behind the scenes. Although, of course, with reality-esque television or documentary style, I will say we all enjoyed the experience a lot. All of us actors. So we all loved it. I don't know what they portrayed it as, but
You've done a lot of movies and television. What do you think is your favorite aspect of each?
that's a good question.
Thank you. Thanks, I tried.
Well, TV is always nice because you go and film it, and a month later you can see it.
Yeah.
Film, you have to wait a little longer usually to witness the final product. And a lot of the films I've worked on have been independent films, so it's also a pretty quick schedule,
Yeah.
That you're working on as you are in television. But it's different. I mean, film, it's a short amount of time, and you really dive in and you get to know everybody like a family. And I assume, over time with TV, it's the same thing. You become a family over years and years and
Right.
years. It's a little more extended experience. And being a guest artist or recurring, you're just sort of popping in and connecting and then like jumping out and going on to your next thing and next adventure. So I don't know. It's everything is sort of becoming more and more similar too.
Yeah.
The lines are blurring a little between film and television as television productions are becoming more and more higher budget or character driven or whatever it is that's happening. There's just so much happening in television right now
Right.
that's so character driven that I think used to be more in the film world, and now it's like there's not so much differentiation.
Yeah.
Which is fun to be a part of that shift, It was like you were a TV or a film actress or actor
Right.
before, and now it's like,
It's
who
a
knows?
big blend.
Yeah.
You were saying that Grey's was something that you watched and that, was part of your, something you enjoy. Is there something else that's on TV that you would love to be part of?
Game of Thrones.
Really?
Yes, anything period, which is partially why I'm so in love with 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just love to, I sometimes feel like I'm born out of my time and want to like just be anywhere, any other, we're in an awesome time, but a crazy
Right.
time. And you could probably say that about any time you would be living in. But I don't know, just the idea of like period costumes and Game of Thrones, just the fantasy
I'm
element
trying
of
to
it.
think where in Game of Thrones you would want to be.
Oh, goodness. I mean, there's part of me that would want to be, why can't I think of anyone's names on the moment? Like, I know it so well, and then I'm like, but where would you see me? How about that? Where
That's
would
an
you see
excellent
me?
question. I feel like you would fit in really well at King's Landing in that area.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's
I
where
could totally.
think you could.
I could totally rock that. As much as I took the quiz and I was
You're such a nerd.
I know, I'm such a nerd. But I took the quiz and gosh, she's gone blind now. Why can't I
Aria?
Yes. Like I swear I watch them all. It's like I'm pretending to, but I
Yeah.
swear I do. I always have this problem, by the way. It's like when I try to remember lyrics to a song,
Yeah.
I know everything when the song's playing, and then it stops, and I can't say a single thing. But anyway, Aria, I was totally an Aria. And I was like, oh, yeah, I get it. You know, at camp I like learned archery and all that stuff, and I grew up on a farm and like have that aspect of me.
You were also a ballerina.
Yes, so there I fit into King's Landing.
Right.
You know, it works.
All right. Let's
Anyway.
talk about 12 Monkeys. That's why we're here.
Yes.
12 Monkeys, which is back for a second season, Mondays on Sci-Fi.
Woohoo!
So let's discuss your character. We learned that you were one of the messengers.
Yes, I am.
So I don't believe your name has been said on screen yet.
No.
So I'm not going to say it, even though I found it on IMDb.
Vivian?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You can say
I
it.
didn't want to.
That's out there.
I didn't want to spoil anything. Okay, so Vivian's one of the messengers. We lost in the first episode, but we found her
Yes.
in 1944, looking gorgeous in that dress.
Oh my God. Costume department, check A++. Like, loved that dress.
Yeah.
I mean, just love everything they've done on
Right.
the show. It's so great. But that time period, again, back to
Yeah.
my thing, you know, it's like just so fun to dress up in that world.
So at this point, we don't really know too much. We know they were looking for Thomas Crawford,
Yes.
and what they met was Tommy Crawford. We found him.
Yes.
We stabbed him.
Yes.
And then, of course, the episode ends. That's where we're at. That's just so everyone's caught up. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So, what can you tease us?
I don't want to give away too much. It's such a complicated show, too. I mean, it was one of those, you know, when I got the job, I was and started watching the show, I was like, man, this is so smart and convoluted and complicated and everything's so connected. I love that. I mean, I love all of the, you know, intelligent aspects of it that it's bringing in, and this whole thing, you know, I was joking about causality. But, you know, gosh, I'll just say that what the messengers are up to is pretty epic.
Okay.
And my character is connected to what their whole planet. I mean, it's just I don't know how to say it without like giving anything away. And
so there's a thing, and it's connected to this other thing, and it's going to affect this thing really big.
It all has to do with time,
Right.
and paradoxing,
Yeah,
right? You know, I
exactly.
mean, these things we kind of already know, but yeah, like they're gonna figure some things out and see that my character is connected to people in ways you might not have imagined, which I think is pretty fun to entertain. I guess that's about as much as I can say.
So for now, we believe that Vivian is evil.
Yes.
That might change.
That might change. I mean, there's something to, you know, as a messenger, they're human, but
Right.
they're somewhat engineered, right?
Right.
They're not human in some respect, and we don't really know how yet. And they're being sent on a mission, more or less a suicide mission, because when you create a paradox, like everything, you know, blows up. And so these are people who are essentially going on a suicide mission. And so what's going to happen? You're prepared, you know, it's something that, I don't know if we want to get too real or not, but it's something that's, you know, happening. And then it's like, okay, maybe this doesn't happen. Is it going to happen or not? And if it doesn't, what happens when suddenly, you know, now I'm, you know, Vivian grew up in post-apocalyptic, strange universe, you know, where she was trained to be a certain type of creature, almost robot, sort of. And actually, the name was inspired by a character that is from a film from that era. And I imagine she would have watched these kinds of movies to study. You know, they're going back in time. This is like their mission in life. I'm going to go back to the 1940s. I'm going to be convincing as a woman in that time period, even though I've grown up in the 2000s in some, you know.
40-somethings.
Oh, yeah, 2040-somethings, you know, and I'm sort of weirdly indoctrinated. And so, but I need to know how to play a role really well.
Yeah.
And so, how do you learn? Well, you watch movies.
Yeah.
Right? And so you go back in time and you're like, well, this is all I know from what I watched in movies. And anyway, so that's been really fun to play around with. Like, maybe it's a little too much like that time. Like, is she acting a little too weird for that time? So, yeah, I mean, it's just been interesting to think about. And now she's stuck in that time, right? So now what? Like, things didn't go, did they go as planned? Maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
I don't know,
but
the episode ended.
who knows? Like, and so now she's like back, we're going to see whether she ends up in that time or not. And so it's interesting to think about, like, going into another era and, like, how do you exist normally back then? And that was fun to play around with, like, how you would have gotten ideas from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see, when we first meet Vivian, she's blue.
Mm-hmm. She's blue.
What were you in?
It was a brilliant clay kind of, you know, I like to do clay masks. I don't know about you. It's a good thing to, like, clean your skin out. But when you sit in that for about 12 hours, you're like, I can't move my face. Thankfully, I didn't have to say anything.
Right.
But the actor, I don't know what his character's name, but the lead of the Messengers,
Right.
Andres, is the actor's name. I don't know his character's name. But he had to speak lines, and his, like, face was frozen and, like, cracking, and, you know, it wasn't that comfortable after maybe 2 hours. But I will say, by the next day, after I, like, showered it all off, I was like, oh my gosh, I have baby soft skin. This is so great. It's like taking a mud bath.
For 12 hours.
Yeah, for 12 hours. Bentonite clay. I think it was bentonite clay or some kind of clay, which I sometimes drink to do detoxification of my inner body. So anyway, that's a whole other discussion. Yeah, so it was not the most comfortable attire to be in, but that's the thing. I mean, it's so fun that you get to, you know, mess around with completely different. The things I did for the shows, you'll see in, like, the next episode, some of the outfits and other physical things that one dons, or just watching Jennifer Goines, the character, and her time jumping, and having Emily Hampshire play 40 years down the line, and having to wear, you know, all the prosthetic makeup. It's amazing what the makeup artists are doing on those shows. I mean, all across the board, the whole crew. You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway,
you said that you like the idea of different times. Is there a time that you would like to go to?
Well, I think it'd be really fun to be in the American West, like in the 1800s, like. But I also, you know, I watched. I mean, one of my favorite. I love Midnight in Paris when Owen Wilson gets back to the 1920s. I would love to be like Flapper Girl. Really, I'm not too picky. They all have their perks, you know. I do have this thing when I, like, go to sleep and I wake up and my hair's just a crazy thing. But I have this weird, like, finger curl sort of natural thing. So I'm like, I swear, it would have been great back then.
It's like your hair is telling you.
Yeah, it's just like, come on. You just need to do this.
We just need to make it to 2044 and get in a time machine.
Yeah.
And go back.
Exactly.
I got this.
Exactly. Like, can't you jump back to that time? So, yeah, I mean, that would be super fun, but I love it. Then he's, like, talking to Marion Cotillard's character, who's like, but the Belle Epoque is the best time, like the 1890s in Paris. And I'm like, well, that would be fun, too. You know, but the Wild, Wild West, and I don't know. It's fun to, I always like those ones too, where as much as I love getting dolled up in all sorts of different makeup looks, like the 40s were so fun with the lips and the eyes, but then I think man, it would be great to be like in the Wild West and have like no makeup and just covered in dirt and like, you know, weird corsets. I don't know.
I feel like you're so lucky because you're as an actress, you could be in all of these time periods.
I know. That's what was so fun about this show. Like, I've been waiting my whole life to do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to be able to really dive in. And then, like, the meta level of being the character herself, feeling like she was playing a role in another time, and being like, oh, so I'm an actor playing a character who's playing a role.
Yeah.
And how convincingly is she able to play the role? Is she able to convince this man that she's, you know, of the era?
She clearly convinced that guy that she was going to sleep with him.
I know.
I have a wife and kids. I won't tell.
It's fine, honey. Just come with me into your study, and we'll just see where it goes.
In your office.
Yeah.
Well, there's a party outside. She was really thinking it through.
Oh, she knew what she was doing. She was very like, gotta get to the point here.
Right.
You know?
How difficult is it to play part, not robot, but like a robotic-esque woman who's also trying to, as you say, convince people she's of the time?
Yeah. That was a fun sort of line to dance around with, because actually the character had a different name originally when I auditioned. Her name was Mantis, as in praying mantis.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun to play around with.
Yeah.
And walk the fine line of being a believable human, but you know, and it's super subtle. It's not something that's really being hyper explored. It's not. But just as an actor, it was such a fun thing to explore. What are the physicalities? How, you know, how much are you a little too like you've been watching the movies studying, and how much are you a real human, you know, versus Amanda Shull's character going back in time, and she's, you know, grew up as a regular human being.
Right.
And she was familiar with history and probably watched the same movies, but she wasn't biologically trained to go back in time and, you know, go on this mission. And so a little more natural in her existence in that time period, you know, a little more, I'm a modern girl who gets thrown back in time and shows up in my jeans, just being knocked out through the time travel, you know, and you're like, what is that chick wearing? It's the 1940s, like all the people being like, who are you? And how she transitions into that versus my character, who's like, I only know this little tiny bubble. I grew up in this weird mansion that's decrepit now, and so yeah, it was fun. It was fun material to work with, like the jumping in between the somewhat more robotic movements with the body that are a little more unnatural, not so organically flowing, and the ways of speaking. And I mean, even in the futuristic stuff, I loved, you know, it was just brief glimpses before getting sent off in the time machine, but just watching, playing around with like looks and turns of heads and, you know, who are these crazy people?
And you also got to do a little bit of a fight sequence.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of, little fighting.
Yeah.
How was that?
Oh, so fun. I love that stuff. I mean, I used to be a dancer, and, you know, I am like to be physically active, and it does keep the, you know, you're working long days in general. Yeah. And it's fun to be able to get to be physical on set, and for the most part do as much of the stunt work as you can. I mean, it's certain things you're like, okay, my ego doesn't need to like prove that I can do that, but the other stuff my ego wants to be like, look at me. I can totally do that. And it is fun. It keeps it like interesting. And I, you know, just to be able to move around, because it ends up like long days and you're sitting a lot or standing or whatever. So it's nice to move around. I used to, you know, move around 10 hours a day. So it's nice to translate that a little bit.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. Why don't you tell people where they can find you on Twitter and Instagram and any projects you have coming up?
Certainly. I am Scottie T on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And check out 12 Monkeys, Sci-Fi, 9 p.m.
Mondays.
Woohoo. Oh, yeah, Monday, 9 p.m. every night.
Every night. Awesome. And if you want to find me, I'm online at Yael.tv. Also everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAEL-TYGIEL. And I have my podcast, Intimate Interrogations, which is sometimes as dirty as it sounds. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.